Second language learning and bilingual education. Are there sensitive periods in learning a second language? That is, if individuals want to learn a second language, how important is the age at which they begin to learn it? What's the best way for you as schools to teach children who come from homes in which English is not the primary language? Second language learning. For many years, it was claimed that if individuals did not learn a second language prior to puberty, they would never reach native language learners' proficiency in the second language. However, recent research indicates a more complex conclusion. There are sensitive periods for learning a second language. Additionally, these sensitive periods likely vary across different areas of language systems. For example, late language learners, such as adolescents and adults, may learn new vocabulary more easily than new sounds or new grammar. Also, children's ability to pronounce words with a native-like accent in a second language typically decreases with age, with an especially sharp drop occurring after the age of about 10 to 12. Adults tend to learn a second language faster than children, but their level of second language mastery is not as high as children's. And the way children and adults learn a second language differs somewhat. Compared with adults, children are less sensitive to feedback, less likely to use explicit strategies, and more likely to learn a second language from large amounts of input. Students in the United States are far behind their counterparts in many developed countries in learning a second language. For example, in Russia, schools have 10 grades, called forms, which roughly correspond to the 12 grades in American schools. Russian children begin school at age 7 and begin learning English in the third form. Because of this emphasis on teaching English, most Russian citizens under the age of 40 today are able to speak at least some English. The United States is the only technologically advanced Western nation that does not have a national foreign language requirement at the high school level, even for students in rigorous academic programs. Sorry. I need to get like an envelope or something. Okay. U.S. students who do not learn a second language may be missing more than the chance to acquire a skill. Bilingualism, the ability to speak two languages, has a positive effect on children's cognitive development. Children who are fluent in two languages perform better than their single language counterparts on tests of control of attention, concept formation, analytical reasoning, cognitive flexibility, and cognitive complexity. Research has also documented that bilingual children are better at theory of mind tasks. Also, in recent analysis across a number of countries, bilingual children consistently demonstrated better executive function. In addition, bilingual children are more conscious of the structure of spoken and written language, and better at noticing errors of grammar and meaning, skills that benefit their reading ability. Further, a recent study of 6 to 10-year-olds found that early bilingual exposure was a key factor in bilingual children outperforming monolingual children on phonological awareness and word learning. And another recent study indicated that 3-year-old bilingual children adapted to the needs of their communication partners better than their monolingual counterparts did. That's interesting. In addition, a recent study of 3-year-olds found that shared book reading at home and school in a second language not only improved their second language learning, but also the perspective taking emphasized in the shared reading program increased their ability to shift perspectives and understand others' emotional states. And a recent study conducted in China found that children who were learning English as a foreign language outperformed monolingual Chinese children on an attention task and also had higher activation of their prefrontal cortex. Okay, so let's see what the benefits are of being bilingual. So number one, we're the only technologically advanced Western country that doesn't require a second language. Research indicates that bilingual children are better at theory of mind. They consistently demonstrate better executive function. They're more conscious of grammar and their reading ability. They also they have more phonological awareness and word learning. And it looks like as early as 3 years old, bilingual children communicate better with partners than monolingual children. Okay, and let's see. So a recent study of 3-year-olds found that shared book reading at home and school as a second language not only improved their second language learning, but also perspective taking. So also if you learn with a partner at home and you read in a second language, it'll help your ability to shift perspective and understand other people's emotions. So, and it's not just here in the United States, it's also China found that same study. Children who were learning a second language there outperformed the monolingual children there on an attention task, and their prefrontal cortex was more activated than monolingual. Monolingual meaning only speaking one language. Thus, overall, bilingualism is linked to positive outcomes for children's language skills and their cognitive development. An especially important developmental question that many parents of infants and young children ask is whether they should teach them 2 languages simultaneously or whether doing this would confuse them. The answer is that teaching infants and young children 2 languages simultaneously, as when a mother's native language is English and her husband's is Spanish, has numerous benefits and a few drawbacks. Teach them at the same time is basically what it's saying. In the United States, many immigrant children go from being monolingual in their home language to bilingual in that language and in English, only to end up as monolingual speakers of English. This is called subtractive bilingualism, and it can have negative effects on children who often become ashamed of their home language. Child, that's internalized racism. Anyway, bilingual education. A current controversy related to bilingualism involves the millions of U.S. children who come from homes in which English is not the primary language. What's the best way to teach these English language learners? ELLs. ELLs have been taught in one of 2 main ways. Number 1, instruction in English only. Or number 2, a dual language, used to be called bilingual, dual language approach that involves instruction in their home language and English. I think that's what I did when I was little. In a dual language approach, instruction is given in both the ELL child's home language, and English for varying amounts of time at certain grade levels. One of the arguments in favor of the dual language approach is the research discussed earlier, demonstrating that bilingual children have more advanced information processing skills than monolingual children do. If a dual language strategy is used, too often it has been thought that immigrant children need only 1 or 2 years of this type of instruction. However, in general, it takes immigrant children approximately 3 to 5 years to develop speaking proficiency and 7 years to develop reading proficiency in English. Also, immigrant children vary in their ability to learn English. Children who come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds have more difficulty than those from higher socioeconomic backgrounds. Thus, especially for immigrant children from low socioeconomic backgrounds, more years of dual language instruction may be needed than they currently are receiving. What have researchers found regarding outcomes of ELL programs? Drawing conclusions about the effectiveness of ELL programs is difficult. Because of variations across programs in the number of years that they are in effect, the type of instruction, the quality of schooling other than ELL instructions, the teachers, the children, and other factors. Further, no effective experiments have been conducted that compare bilingual education with English-only education in the United States. That seems odd. You'd think that that would have already been conducted. Anyway, Some experts have concluded that the quality of instruction is more important in determining outcomes than the language in which it is delivered. That makes sense. Nonetheless, other experts, such as Kenji Hakuda, 2001, support the combined home language and English approach because, number one, children have difficulty learning a subject when it is taught in a language that they don't understand, right? Obviously. And number two, when both languages are integrated in the classroom, children learn the second language more readily and participate more actively. In support of Hakuda's view, most large-scale studies have found that the academic achievement of ELLs is higher in dual language programs than English-only programs. I mean, that makes sense. Imagine, like, tomorrow I go to a new country and it's like, okay, well, we don't speak English or Spanish here. No, I speak Spanish. You either know how to speak Italian or you don't. Sink or swim, right? So, like, of course it's going to be better when you do a dual class. I feel like that just seems like common sense, but common sense is so common. All right, you guys. So that was physical and cognitive development in middle and late childhood, starting at approximately age 6 and going on to about age 11. So I'm going to end this live and I'm going to start the next one on socio-emotional development for that same age group. So we're going to learn about emotional and personality development, developing your sense of self, self-understanding, understanding others, self-esteem, self-concept, coping with stress, all kinds of stuff, moral development. So I'm gonna end this live and then I'll be back in like 2-3 minutes. I just take like a little breaks in between. Okay, see you soon.